Well, I'm absolutely delighted now to be joined by Amy Cuddy, who is the speaker at the opening session today. Amy, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate it. Now, talking about non-verbal behaviour or body language and how that can affect your behaviour. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so when people think about body language, they tend to focus on the language piece. And when they think of language, they think about an interaction between at least two people or maybe among many people. So they're thinking, in other words, about how their body language affects other people or vice versa. What I look at is how our body language kind of speaks to ourselves and affects us. So our own body language can change the way we feel and think and behave.
Give us an example.
Well, I mean, here's an example. When we're happy, we smile. But it's also true that when we smile, we feel happy. And then that becomes sort of mutually reinforcing, so you get a very, very beneficial feedback loop. So it turns out, your body is not just expressing your emotion, but sometimes your emotion is expressing what your body's doing.
So I get that. So, it's good to feel good and you make yourself smile, but how important is that?
Well, I think that it can lead to very substantial changes, even if they're small at first. Over time, they become bigger and bigger and bigger. But what we find in our work is that changing your posture for just 2 minutes can lead to hormonal changes that are pretty dramatic. So they can change hormone levels that are circulating in the bloodstream by 20 to 25%. And that's a massive fluctuation compared to what you think about when you think about your hormone levels changing over your lifespan. So to get that kind of effect in 2 minutes is pretty dramatic.
You talk about 2 minutes and you talk a lot about power poses.
Yes.
Tell us about power poses.
Yeah, so power poses are postures or poses that are open, expansive, and space occupying. And this is true across the animal kingdom. So you can look at cobras or different kinds of birds, fish, cats, primates. And what you find is that all species, when they are dominant or trying to express dominance or power, they will in some way make themselves bigger. Maybe they'll spread out like this. You have a peacock who will fan its tail feathers. A cat will raise its back and idle sideways to make itself look bigger. And it's true for humans as well. So when people feel powerful or are trying to express power, they make themselves bigger.
People might say, well, look, Amy, that's fine, but I'm just not like that. I'm a shy person. I'm a quiet person. It's just not me. What would you say to that?
Well, so two things. One, I'm not encouraging people to adopt postures like this in an interaction. What we find is that you get the biggest benefit if you do it before you walk into the interaction. So standing like Wonder Woman in an elevator for a minute actually changes these levels of testosterone and cortisol, which are related to confidence and reduced stress. And they basically optimize your brain to deal well in the most stressful, high-stakes situations, negotiations, job interviews, VC pitches, having to fire someone, things that really stress people out. They do much better after power posing for just a minute or two. So that's what I would say, that you do it before, and it's not changing. It's not changing who you are. It's sort of disinhibiting you and allowing you to perform well.
You talk about faking it till you make it.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So when I first started looking at this work, these questions, I was really focused on students in my classroom who were not able to participate. So I saw them, sitting sort of like this, hunching over their notes or their phones, and the students that were participating a lot were adopting completely different, postures that you would associate in the animal kingdom with being alpha. And so I started to wonder, is it possible if I could just get these students to change their posture, would their performance change? But at first I was thinking that the mechanism would be through other people. So they would do this and other people would respond to them as if they're powerful, and so they'd perform better. I didn't honestly in the beginning expect that we would get this incredibly powerful feedback loop and that it would begin there, and that's what we ended up finding. So what is happening is not that you are becoming a fake. It's not superficial. What's happening is actually at a very deep level. you are becoming, I would say, a fuller self. You're becoming your aspirational self. You're not holding back anymore.
I find it's really important, isn't it? I mean, you know, your life chances, if you like. This is really important to them.
Yeah, so we find that it predicts very important life outcomes. So, for example, power posing for a couple of minutes before a job interview or a college admissions interview makes you much more likely to be hired or admitted than, you know, doing what people normally do, which is sitting like this before an interview. So, and we've looked at different performance domains, you know, physical performance, you know, performing arts, cognitive performance in these stressful situations, and across domains it seems to lead to dramatically better outcomes.
Well, Amy, thank you very much indeed. I've got my final question. I've got to ask you, I'm afraid. How have I done in this interview?
You're clearly very, very tall and occupying your full space, but at the same time pleasantly and politely trying to accommodate me. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Amy, thank you very much.
Thank you.